Let's go straight across now to our next speakers. Here's a question before I introduce them. I think most of us would hesitate to talk about sex even with our friends, certainly not with our parents. But what if you had to talk about sex with your grandmother? Can't imagine it, right? But here's somebody who's a pop star, a content creator, a media entrepreneur who does exactly that, talking sex with Ajji. Let's introduce her now. And there she is. I can already see Dr. Kumud Nagral laughing. And hi,
more
Avanti.
more difficult now.
It's more.
More difficult. More difficult. Firstly, sorry, I know we've kept you waiting. Dr. Kumud and Avanti. What is Ajji saying, Avanti?
She's saying that to talk about sex feels like it's more difficult now, but it's very easy when it's natural.
So Dr. Kumud is, of course, a doctor, and she's also written a book in Marathi. She's a woman ahead of her times, and this is her granddaughter, Avanti Nagral, who started this very interesting sort of series of conversations between her and her grandmother. So Avanti, how did this idea come to you?
तो honestly, आपको याद है जब हमने पहले शुरू किया था? So when Ajji's husband passed away last year, Baba, jab, we used to watch Marathi movies every weekend when she used to come over, and I realized that Ajji's actually very cool. I've always known she's very cool, but I didn't see that side to her. And then one day I asked her, since we were watching a lot of regional content, would she be okay watching a music video that was very different? And she said yes. So हमने वो देखा था WAP or Anaconda. So I had her react to WAP and Anaconda, and what started with just something to see how she would react turned into a conversation very naturally about objectification, gender empowerment, and sex. And Ajji, being a doctor, has dealt with this her whole life. She was responsible for helping bring contraception to a lot of women across India. She and her husband were on the Family Planning Association of India. So for Ajji, आपके लिए अगर कोई penis या vagina ऐसे कुछ कहता है वो normal शब्द है ना?
Yeah, of course.
How old is Ajji, Avanti? If I can ask you, how old is Ajji?
What is your age?
I'm 88, complete 89 running.
Yes.
And now within 2 months, I will complete 89 and enter 90.
And that naughty laugh, Ajji, were you always naughty?
No.
No, I'm highly not at all naughty.
No, please, Ajji, आप बहुत मस्ती करते हो.
No. I'm supposed to be highly balanced woman.
But Avanti, I'm going to actually, hand over to you to get a glimpse of an actual kind of conversation that you have with your Ajji. But, in a sense, why is this so important to have a cross-generational conversation about intimacy, about menstruation, about things that are normally considered taboo?
I think it's really important, and मैं आपको भी पूछती हूँ, आपको क्यों लगता है हमारे generation के बीच में ये बात क्यों करनी चाहिए sex के बारे में?
Because in our society, what has happened, some things are too extremes. Even if you say sex, oh no.
Yeah.
And nowadays, even 10, 15-year-old children are talking about sex. So everything is this also is more in excess, that was also in excess. So you should be always balanced.
Yes, and have that balance.
And take it as a knowledge.
Completely agreed. And because what I've seen is
information,
especially in our cultural context. Having these conversations, even if you have it with your peers, you have it in your schools, that's fine. But unless we seep through the fabric of our cultural context, which is intergenerational dependence, and we have this interdependence, if you don't feel comfortable talking about something at home, it's not going to be something that is still considered normal to you and normalized. So according to me, in our context, it's really important when we talk about things that are typically considered taboo to have them in all of our contexts, in our schools, in our homes, and have that open conversation. Also, it's important that that conversation is not limited to just the English language. It should be accessible all across. And I've seen so many people, when they watch our videos together, feeling like that's something they can show their families. Because if it was just me, then they would say, oh, she's a 20 something, person.
Yeah.
But dadi, nobody can say no to a dadi, even if she's a virtual dadi, for them.
A virtual dadi. Now, I'm going to ask you one last question, and then I'm going to actually hand it over to you to conduct one of your sessions with Ajji. My question is this. Actually, Dr. Kumud made a really interesting point that either you have this, like even 10-year-old kids now being hypersexualized. We live in a kind of Instagram age. Either there's too much exposure to kind of sexual cues without really a comprehension of what it all means, or there's too little. How do you try and bridge the gap in your conversations?
So,
what happens in general in our society? A sex home and something all the time.
Exactly.
Sex is a natural thing like other things.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
you should look at it that way. Sex. So I used to say, I am not against one boy and a girl coming together and all. But why all the time think of they should think of sex?
Yeah.
That was my and because
Yeah.
I was a family physician, whatever happens in the family, even the parents would bring their child or whatever to me. So and I used to tactfully and frankly talk to them.
Yeah. जो आपका एक saying है ना, आती तेथे माती. So Ajji has this one saying. उसका मतलब क्या है?
Formerly, children sex like that, and now everything is thinking. So in general, in other things also in our society, either too much
or too
little.
Agreed.
You
So,
should
Yeah.
always be.
Yeah, so I want to be an eavesdropper now. So I'm actually going to step back, Avanti, and hand this over to you and let you steer one of your famous conversations about talking sex with Ajji. So Avanti, it's over to you.
sounds good. तो अमीर आपस में भी बात करते हो.
Okay.
So you already mentioned कि sex should not be in extremes.
Yeah.
But it's really important कि कोई भी है जो आज है उनको information है उसके बारे में.
Yeah.
Right? So when somebody says the word say penis या vagina या anus, तो उसके what should their reaction be like?
It should be an open conversation, and like other thing, it should be taken as a knowledge, information.
Agreed.
Like that.
Agreed.
But in our are giving a different color to it.
I understand.
Actually.
No, I understand.
No.
और sex में I think it's really important क्योंकि अगर उसके बारे में हम बात नहीं करते, as a result we don't talk about the safety.
Yeah.
Right? And so you, for example, were on the Family Planning Association of India.
Yeah.
तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा बात कर सकते. What was it like talking about contraception?
What when this age of people, you should not say them, oh, don't talk.
Yes.
Take it easy.
Yeah.
Take it as an information.
Agreed.
So it should not be something very
Yes.
because if you even if a child, you say no, it becomes more aggressive to know it.
Of course. जो
So
जिस चीज को हम
it should be
छुपाते
a
हैं.
general thing like other
Agreed.
physiology.
Agreed.
It is like physiology.
It's physiology.
Yeah.
The same way we say nah,
Yeah,
we should be able to say
yeah,
penis. तो वो contraception के बारे में Family Planning Association जो आपने उसमें काम किया है, what was the reaction like for women when you first told them or showed them what contraception is like?
As such, they knew something about it.
Okay.
And they used to come to me for any problem, not only sexual, any other problem.
Of course.
But actually, I used to, lead them
Yes.
to this.
Makes sense.
Because I was in that situation.
Makes sense. And family planning में, what do you think is the message behind family planning?
Family plan. Even if you want to go somewhere for a tour, don't you plan?
Yes.
कहाँ जाने का, कौन सा ticket लेने का. So even family, you should plan.
True.
What is your financial status? What is your work? And then do it.
Makes sense. It's a responsibility.
Yeah.
जिम्मेदारी होती है इसकी.
जिम्मेदारी.
और कई
And
लोग
that's why the word is there, planning.
Yes.
Planning the family.
Yes. कई लोग जब वो सेक्स के बारे में सोचते हैं, वो सोचते हैं कि सिर्फ बच्चों के लिए है, like it's only to have babies, but sex is also about pleasure.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
In general,
Yes.
sex is more for pleasure
Hmm.
than for having a baby.
Yes.
In general. Okay?
Yeah.
Baby is the outcome.
Is the outcome. And you also have to protect yourself if you don't want a baby.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it comes to that, we've talked through contraception, safety, but if we don't talk about it, we also don't talk about consent.
Yeah.
And consent is the most important
Of
thing.
course.
आपके मन में consent के बारे में थोड़ा.
Yeah. माने दोनों राजी होनी चाहिए.
Yes.
Number one. But at the same time, other things also should be there. Only two people में दोनों राजी है इसलिए sex no.
Yeah.
Because it has got so many other consequences.
Agreed.
Social, physical, physiological.
Agreed.
So it's not just, अरे I'm standing on a mountain. अच्छा लगता है कूदने में. So shall I कूद? No.
I know what you mean. मतलब basically what you're trying to say is कि उसमें sex is not just bad, right? It's basically there's social, emotional, physiological.
So many factors are there.
Exactly.
So social, financial, anything, age-wise, everything.
तो उसके बारे में जानकारी होनी चाहिए.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You should have information, correct information.
Exactly. तो आजकल स्कूल में लोग वो सेक्स के बारे में बात नहीं करते. कई स्कूल में they actually cancel the reproduction chapter. हाँ.
Surprising.
हाँ, exactly.
that is the most important chapter in physiology.
Exactly. तो अगर उसको cancel करते हैं, then like you said, वो राजी करके रख रहे हैं. And then people will have more curiosity.
Because if you try to do away with something, people get more
curious. Yeah, exactly. कि है क्या है? And तो आपने book लिखा है. Actually, you've written 2-3 books.
Yeah.
तो but आपका book जो मराठी में है about women, what is it called?
I have now. It was to come out in English also.
हाँ, but मराठीचा नाव काय bookचा?
स्त्री जन्माचे रहस्य.
Oh, and that what does that mean? What does that mean?
The rahasya, you know.
Secret. Secret?
No, rahasya means what is the
journey.
Mother English.
चालेल. पण तुम्ही सांगा वो story English book के बारे में.
So I wrote it. I have written in English, and in that I have written voyage. I wrote Voyage of Womanhood as
the title. Yeah.
The Delhi was printing it because he has already printed my big book on Ayurveda.
Yes.
But then he told me, no, voyage doesn't suit because you want to show that it's not a comfortable journey.
True.
And voyage means comfortable journey. So we have got in our building also. Some of us gather together for him.
Yeah.
So I asked the other people, what name should be given? So many people suggested so many things.
So many things.
So I have to say, Avanti, as eavesdropping, and there were like some really good moments there about consent. And the best line was, of course, sex is for pleasure, but the baby is just an outcome, is a byproduct. So let me get a last word from you, Avanti. Like with these conversations, what is your ultimate aim? What are you hoping to achieve and do?
The ultimate aim is to normalize these conversations in society, right? It should, as Ajji was saying earlier, we should not be scared to talk about sex. And at the same time, it's not something revolutionary that you're talking about sex on the internet either. It should just be as normal a conversation.
Because it two extremes. Sex.
Yes.
All the time.
Well, yes, Ajji, you're absolutely right. I'm also calling you Ajji because I think after these conversations, you become the universal Ajji. Thank you, Avanti. It's a great idea. She's everyone's Ajji. And thank you, Dr. Kumud. And I'm really going to make it a point to tune in to your special series with your grandmother. Fantastic idea. And congratulations, Avanti. And thank you, Ajji, Dr. Kumud. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.